Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video with some products from Honeybee Stamps. This is the Wonderful Wishes. And normally it's like a stamp, stencil, and die, right? Well, this one is just a stencil and die. And I have used this before, and I'll link that video at the end to do like a gradient kind of birthday cake, but I've never used it with the stencils. And then I'm also using the Big Bold Birthday and then the Celebrate background as well. So I'm using a sticky mat to hold my stencil in place for the most part. Because the stencils are the same size as an A2 size card, I positioned it kind of in the bottom left so that I had some of the stencil hanging over to stick to the sticky mat. And then I am actually going to do two of these because with the dies, not only do you get the dies for like the cake stand, the cake itself, and then the candles, but then you also get some dies to die cut out some individual flowers. So I am going to do that to use as the decorations on my cake. The one that I did before that I'll link to at the end with the gradient, I actually used one of the Lovely Layers flowers to decorate the cake. I did like a watercolor, if I remember correctly. It was a while ago. But anyway, I think I used the coneflower on top and it was great. So that's another option. And then also, of course, you could use a stencil without the dies and create this kind of floral, which would be really pretty. So anyway, I am doing some ink blending through the stencils first with my Distress inks, and I am using multiple colors, sometimes 3, sometimes 2, and this is going to give me some added interest with the shading. But then of course, because we all know me, I can't leave well enough alone, I am going to go back in with my alcohol markers and not add like a ton. I'm not going to completely cover everything, but just a little, mostly for the darks, like to just punch up the darks a little bit. So if you have been following me in my honeybee journey recently, you know that I've been doing the lives on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. But the lives used to be Monday at, I think it was 7 Central. That's 8 o'clock my time. And so it was Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern. And since Kelly has retired and I have taken over, we had to change the times. Let's talk about the card again real quick. So here, I don't want to have to get out a whole new set of inks, but I do just want a little bit of variety in the actual ink colors. So here what I'm doing is I'm using all the same colors I used before, but for the base color, for the first part of it that I lay down, I'm actually using crushed olive, which is going to give it a little bit of a different hue, even though we're using the same colors that, you know, Twisted, Citron, Mowed Lawn, and Rustic Wilderness. Because we have a different kind of base, it's going to just give it a slightly different look, and that's going to help us have some variation without really having to do a whole lot of work or have a whole lot of extra supplies. So for the flowers, I'm doing 2 pinks and 2 purples, and then that's it. But anyway, so when I took over, we ended up having to change the times. And so I'm just doing one live at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Wednesdays. And we know, because, you know, we had chatted about it a little bit, that you guys love to be able to come in and, you know, chat and catch up with each other. So we decided that even though I would not be available to do a live on Mondays at 8, that's just, if you ever had, children, or if you currently have children, that's like prime bath bedtime in my household. Years and years ago when I used to do Periscope live, I always waited until after Peanut was in bed. So I was doing Periscope at like 9:30, sometimes even 10, just depending upon how the night went. So yeah, those PMs are a little bit rougher on me. So we'd thought that we would do a premiere on Monday. So it'd be like a fully edited video, but it would still give us the opportunity to kind of chit chat with each other. Now, as I say that, and this is the first premiere, it of course is late. It's absolutely late. In fact, it's 7:59 right now as I'm voicing this over. Okay, let's talk about what we're doing. So here I'm using it's a square, it's a rectangle, it's a squectangle. I don't know. It looks, I guess technically it's a rectangle because it's not exactly the same size, but it's pretty close. Anyway, so I'm going to cut that out. And then, like I said before, you have these little teeny tinier dies that cut out each of the individual flowers. And so I'm going to use those as well. And then I realized that they didn't cut out any of the leaves, and I wanted some leaves. And so this one was the first one I found that had leaves that would be the appropriate size. And this is the Lovely Layers Herb Garden. It must have just, because I used this for my husband's birthday card, it must have just been in the forefront of kind of like my case. But I'm sure that there's other ones that you could use the leaves from. I just needed some greenery to kind of tuck back in there. And so I will also be coloring those with my markers, but because I like everything to be matchy-matchy, I also am going to have to do a little bit of ink blending on there. And then for the cake stand, I'm just cutting that out of white, and I will color that with my alcohol markers. I did think about doing it out of metallic cardstock, but I didn't want to have to do gold, and I didn't think it would look good with silver. So here what I'm doing is, this is my black soot blender brush. I got a little heavy-handed on that left-hand side. But anyway, I wanted to add a little bit of shading kind of to the left, right, and bottom. I did get a little heavy-handed on the left-hand side. I think at the end of the day it came out okay, but I'm just being truthful with you guys. If I had to do it all over again, I definitely would have been a lighter hand with adding that shading. Maybe it would have been better off if I had picked up my brush that I use for hickory smoke instead of the black soot. But yeah, decisions were made. It is what it is. Anyway, back to the premiere. So the reason that I am late, is both of my kids were home today. So I was intermittently working in between nap time and doing breakfast, lunch, playing, all of those things. So I was like, I have to have this, I have to have it up by 8 tonight. And it was going to be close. Okay. I wasn't going to be super early. Let's not pretend. We have to go back to the card. So here, this is, what is this? Lilac Blossom from Spellbinders. And so I was like, oh, I'll just use Versamark and I will stamp my Celebrate Birthday in the background, and then it won't compete with my cake, and it will add some color. You could stamp with Versamark or with clear embossing ink on any color of cardstock, and it would give you just a slightly darker tone, which we love. And so I showed it to you because I wanted you to see how it looked and what a fantastic design tool that is, but it was too busy for my card. So I did not end up using it, but I did want to shortchange you on showing you what you could possibly do with that. We are going to use that background. We're just going to use it a little bit. I'm not the purple background, the background stamp, the Celebrate background stamp. We are still going to use it for our card design, but we're going to switch up how we use it. So here is where we're going to go in and we're going to add our shading to the stenciling. You can totally skip this part. I think the cake really does look pretty good, but mostly I'm just going to go in and put some darks in there, just to give it a little bit more dimension and kind of look a little extra special. So the same rules apply, even though we're not using a stamp. We're going to add shading where 2 points meet and where one object lays on top of the other. So any point where the leaves are tucked under the flowers, that leaf will have shadow. Where one petal lays on top of another, that would have shadow, so on and so forth. So, I'm never going to get to tell you the story. I'm never going to get to tell you this story. So anyway, I was on track not to be early by any means, but to be pretty much right on time. And what is this? The video editing software that I use sometimes, and I don't know why, it's always like hit or miss. Sometimes when I upload my footage into the video editing software, for some reason, sometimes it doesn't pull my mic. And so I'm able to edit my video just like I normally would. But then when I get to the stage where I would do my voiceover, there's no microphone. And the only way to fix that is to close down the whole shebang and then re-upload it. So, or reopen it. And then, I have to save the video with no sound, which takes anywhere between 5 or 10 minutes. And then I have to open the program again, re-upload the video, and wait for it to optimize. And then I can do my voiceover. So that is what happened to me. Normally, as soon as I open it, I check to make sure my microphone is there, because I have been punished by this thing multiple times and not catching my mic. But because I was rushing, because it was a very busy day today, and I really didn't get to sit down to truly edit and voice over until my husband got home from work. And he doesn't get home from work until later now, since he has a new job position. So he did have to, I had marinated some steaks for dinner, and I was like, you're on your own, my dude. I'm not going to be able to help you. I'm not going to be able to help you. Don't wait on me. I'm sure the kids will be hungry. Just go ahead and make dinner and eat without me. So I'm sure that they did, though I bet he made me a plate, because he's awesome like that. So here, I did use the 3 colors for the leaves, but for the flowers, I am just going to use 2 of them. The darker purple, and then what is usually my dark mid-tone, and then a kind of a middle of the road pink. This pink blend is pretty light, so I used an RV09 and an RV06 to kind of blend them out. I will bring in the 04 later for the candles, which you have not seen yet, but it's because I haven't realized that I need them yet. That's why. So anyway, I apologize for being late. I'm sure if you have been a longtime Honeybee follower and you were a big fan of Kelly, which why wouldn't you be? She's amazing. I'm sure you're probably like, wow, this new Kelly does not have her stuff together. And honestly, you're right. I don't. Even when my life is not a complete disaster like it is right now, I am still I struggle. I struggle to get the time management under control, as my husband frequently reminds me, because he is a person who likes to be on time. And then, but really, honestly, are you even married if you're a person who likes to be on time and you don't marry somebody who is constantly late? People always have that joke, oh, I'll be late to my own funeral. No, really, I probably will be, because I can be on time almost never. So if it's a Monday and you're like, hey, I haven't seen this premiere yet, and it's 8:05, fret not, I'm probably just running late. So, so we're doing the coloring, and I really think this adds quite a bit to kind of bring the images a little bit more to life. If you watched the video that we did, when did we do that? Earlier in the week? No, today's Monday. Last week. The days just run together, honestly. So the video that we did last week, where we used the Distress Oxides and did some rainbow stenciling, you could totally do the same thing here, and I think it would look really awesome. My thought process here, you guys know that I make birthday cards more often than not. And so my sister's favorite color is purple, and hers is the next birthday that we will be celebrating. So that's what I was kind of thinking of as I was making this one. Now, what you see me doing here is going in with my cool grays to add a little bit of shadow to the left, the right, and the bottom. If I had not been so heavy-handed with that brush, I probably would not have done that. Or if I never used the brush to begin with, then I would have done it and I would have been lighter-handed with it. Here's the risk we run in using the alcohol markers over other alcohol markers. When you're using the lighter colors, especially like that C3 and C1, you can possibly drag those colors the rest of the way through your image. But I had to do it because the blending was so dark, it just didn't make much sense. So I needed something to help make it more cohesive. So for the cake stand, I used the same colors, and then I just followed the shape of the die and added a little bit of shading there. For the sentiment, I am going to treat it with my anti-static tool, stamp in our Brilliant White pigment ink, and this is Iris. Yep, it's Iris cardstock from Hero Arts. And I'm going to use this for the background as well because I'm cheap. I'm actually using the same piece of cardstock. So had I been thinking about it at the time, I probably would have cut it out of the middle so that way I was sure you wouldn't see it. But it ended up being okay because you still can't see it, even though it's down here in the corner. So once I heat set that with some white detail embossing powder, I'm going to use the coordinating die to cut that out. And then that will go right onto my cake. Here is how we're actually going to do the background. Treat with your anti-static tool. Ink it up with some Versamark. I usually do it twice, but because I hadn't cleaned the stamp yet from the last time I did the Versamark. Why is enunciation such a challenge? I would love to know. Moving on. Normally I would do it twice, but the Versamark was still on there. So here, you could do white on white, and that would be great. But since it is a birthday card and I am keeping my sister in mind, I decided to do a clear sparkle embossing powder. So you can read it in the light, like the little happy birthdays. But mostly when you catch it, it just looks like a sparkly, shiny pattern in the background. Which really, we wanted it to be a supporting actor anyway. So I'm not mad about it. You could try the purple and maybe with a white border, but I would maybe do the plain. I don't know. Maybe it was me. Sometimes I think things are busy and maybe they're not busy for other people, but they are for me. So I did this white panel is trimmed down to 4 by 5 1/4. No, is that right? No, it's not. It's like 4 and 3/8 of an inch or something. It's just enough so that there's an 1/8 of an inch border on each side. That's what I'm trying to say. Do I know what that measurement is? I absolutely do not, because my maths do not math. But I can tell you that it is, if you just shave off an 1/8 of an inch vertically and horizontally, this will be what you get. So now, trying to get everything kind of built up, I knew I wanted to pop the cake up so that it would have a little bit more, what's the word I want? It would have a little bit more interest, I guess, than just being flat. But I do need to make sure that when I'm putting it together that everything is fitting on my card front, because this is, it's going to be a tight fit. So as I'm laying it there, I'm kind of working out where all of my flowers will go to make sure everything is going to fit. And then you could absolutely use like press and seal. Sometimes I struggle with the press and seal, and also I'm lazy and I don't have any up here. So I just go ahead and add some glue to like the top flower, press that down, pick up the next flower, add glue, press that down, pick up the leaves, add glue, adhere them permanently. So that's just kind of how I work through it. Sometimes it doesn't always work out. That's okay. I still find it to be less frustrating than chasing them all over the place after I've gotten them into position. So here I have a cluster on the bottom left and a cluster in the top right. My sentiment is in the middle. This should create a balance, but see what happens is because of the cake stand, like filling up the bottom left looks fuller than the top right. And it looks a little sparse up there in the top left. Like it's almost like I needed a bigger floral arrangement, but quite honestly, I was not going to. I've already cleaned all my stencils and everything else. Like I'm not doing that again. So I decide I'm going to do the candles. And there is stripes in the stencil to do the candles. But again, I'm not trying to compete with the busyness of my florals, since I think, if maybe I hadn't added the alcohol markers, it would be a little bit softer and it wouldn't be so competitive with everything else that's going on. But I did just want solid colored candles. And so I used a little bit of mustard seed to do the flames. And then I'm just going to remove the stencil. I'm not going to add any color to the base. I'm just going to die cut them out and then color in the candles with the same alcohol markers that I used for the flowers. And then I did also add in a little bit of shadow kind of to the bottom of the flame to help them just be on par with everything else that we're creating. But yeah, I think sometimes, and you guys obviously can tell me, but I think sometimes when we have bigger releases, when companies have bigger releases, sometimes things that are really good kind of get lost in the mix of it because we all only have so many dollars to spend. And I think like this is one of them because this is a really easy way to create a card, and this doesn't even have to be birthday card. Like the one that I chose to celebrate your big day with cake, that could be graduation, that could be retirement, that could be anniversary, like that could literally be for anything. And flowers obviously are pretty, a pretty neutral for occasions. So I think sometimes stuff like this just slips through the cracks because we get so excited about some of the other, things like the dyes and stuff like that. But these are just like really good sets to have in your arsenal when you just need to knock out a quick card. And we all know that just where I'm at in life right now, the kind of creating that I'm doing is uncomplicated. And I still want to end up with a pretty card that I'm happy with, but I don't want to have to stress to make my design work. So for the candles, I did stagger them. I chose to do 5 because odd numbers, right? So I put one down flat in the background, and then I put one popped up on top of the cake, and then I alternated them in that kind of top left-hand corner. I do think it is, I'm not saying that I fixed the balance 100%, okay? Because I think maybe I probably should have had the candles over a little bit farther, but then I was like, that's so unrealistic. Like I would catch this flower on fire. I don't know why I thought that, because it's a card and it doesn't matter. So maybe if I had moved them over a little bit further to the right, it would have created a bit more balance. I'm not mad about the candles though, because I do think something was needed up there. But maybe like I said, maybe I just would have scooched them over a little bit, but nonetheless, it's what we've got. I don't think my sister will be like, why is my card so unbalanced? So I did add a little bit of shadow underneath the candles that were on top, as well as underneath the cake stand. You do have to remember that when you're coloring with alcohol markers, it will color your embossing powder. So that's something to keep in mind if you should choose to do the shadow. It doesn't bother me because it's not perfect. You can still see some of the embossing powder there, but I think it's necessary so it doesn't look like it's floating in space. And then, of course, you guys know my white outlines on my dies. I do try to blend them in to the best of my ability. I did leave some white area because honestly, the background of the cake is white, so I wasn't overly concerned about it. I added some highlights with a white gel pen as well as some dots to like the centers of the flowers and things. And then again, because this is for my sister, more glitters, I used Stardust stickles on the flowers and on my candles. And then that's it. That's the whole card. So thank you guys so much for joining me. If you're watching the premiere, I hope you've enjoyed it. If you're catching it afterward, I appreciate you spending your time with me either way. And I will link at the end to the other video using this set. Thank you guys so much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.